The Mundi community has gone through a lot of important events during the last few days. One of the largest nations on the map has disbanded and the siege system is planned to be replaced. But how did it all come to this? Well, sit tight because this is an important part of Mundi history. The oldest medieval server Minecraft. Sorry, I had to. It had been 3 weeks after the server's re-release. In the beginning there were no problems. Everyone was having fun, the player base was active, and lots of towns were popping up in the server, and everything was fun in general. However, as time progressed, it got more and more repetitive and boring. There was simply nothing to do besides building. Well, there were raids here and there, but even raiding lost its fun after quite some time. The player count was quite low. While in the beginning you'd be looking at 40 players during non-active hours or more. Now that number barely surpassed 20, sometimes the server was completely empty. Something had to be done to bring the activity back, and that is precisely what happened. On the 13th of January, the first major update for Mvndicraft was announced. The update promised new helmets, weapons, and most importantly the most hyped system, a functional siege and wars feature. The plugin they were going to use though was publicly known. After learning all of this, some of the members of the community, most notably citizens of al-Andalus, warned the admins about going ahead with their plan. They warned that the plugin was unsuited for Mvndicraft's type of server, and that it would cause problems. However, sadly their warnings were not heeded. 16th of January, 2022. The Siege update. Despite warning from some people, it was decided to push the update through. At first, this had a good impact. Lots of members came back to play since there was a war system now. Many people found Mvndicraft to be fun again, and the server had a resurgence in activity. All seemed to be well, and for a moment it looked like the update was a success. However, problems began to pop up shortly after, when actual wars would begin. There were 3 wars that began on the first day of the update. Holy Roman Empire versus al-Andalus over Milan, Holy Roman Empire versus Livonia for Danzig, though it is important to note that there were actually no engagements fought here because HRE considered the defense of Milan more important. And then there was Empire of Nicaea, now known as the Byzantine Empire, against Latin Empire for the reconquest of Constantinople. This, Weaver, is where everything begins to go downhill. There were multiple things that made the war system unbearable. Firstly, the banner system. In short, to get points during a siege you had to capture a banner. The only problem was that in all cases of conflict, the banners were placed outside city walls. This made the walls effectively useless. Attackers could just camp the banner outside, so instead of attackers trying to take the city, the roles were reversed. The defenders would have to sally out and try to take the banner instead of the attackers trying to take the city. And because of this, they began to fortify the banners. However, they later found out that fortifying around the banner was banned. So, when Andalus and HRE made fortifications, they were both deleted by admin intervention. This proved to be a mistake, however. First of all, without fortifications, it meant that defenders were at a disadvantage pretty much all the time. And ignoring that, during one of the fortification wipes, the banner itself got deleted, which caused a lot of confusion among the combatants. Ignoring the horrible banner system, next up were the siege weapons. It's important to note that one trebuchet costs 35,000, which is by no means a small amount on itself. But there are also boulders which you need, and boulders cost over 1,000 too. Which means that to even consider sieging walls, you would be looking at 40,000 or more, an outrageous sum. And even if you manage to be rich enough to afford it, The Byzantines and Andalusians soon found out that the boulders dealt no harm to the walls. That's right, the supposed siege weapons could not break walls because of a bug with claimed territory. This was really annoying to everyone involved and led to more complaints being thrown around. All of these things resulted in a huge sea of chaos, which led to what happens next. 17th of January, 2022. The Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire abdicates. During this whole ordeal, the Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire was Chrismaster, a dude who had been in Mvndicraft for a long time. In fact, if you remember, he was the Holy Roman Emperor during the Siege of Constantinople, in the previous iteration of Mvndicraft. The server got boring for him and he was considering leaving already, and the failure of the war system, plus the defeat at Milan, convinced him to do so. Suddenly, he abdicated the throne, and since his named successor, Darrow MC, had left Mvndicraft before, he passed the throne to another original member of Mvndicraft, Harold. However, this new emperor had no plans to keep playing Mundi, so HRE was effectively left leaderless. And so began the fall. During all this, Saipan, who was still holding out in Milan, saw that he was left alone against the Andalusian invaders, so he surrendered separately. And the Crimson King 5-5, me, seeing that the HRE leadership was gone and Milan had peaced out, realized that no one would help if Andalus came for him next. The situation, as he saw, was hopeless. So he decided to secede from HRE as a whole and form his own kingdom of Great Moravia. After this, several more states would succeed from the collapsing empire, notable of which are the Kingdom of Bavaria and the Kingdom of Netherlands. And so, effectively, the empire was no more. However, the new kingdoms formed from its collapse agreed to be on friendly terms with each other, and if the emperor ever returned, maybe even reform the empire. And that was how one of the largest nations on the map collapsed into several successor states. It's important to note that all of this shitstorm could have been avoided if the warnings of Andalus were heeded. However, I do not blame the admins for this. Managing a huge server is a difficult job, and everyone makes mistakes. For now, the double-headed eagle of the Holy Roman Empire rests. However, future still holds lots of surprises and we can only wait and see what comes next. Hope you enjoyed the video. This was really fun for me to make. If you liked what I described, you should totally join Mvndicraft, IP of which will be on the screen right now and in the description below. And if you do decide to join, you should totally join the Kingdom of Great Moravia. See you next time, Mundi Bros. Lift heavy and read history.